Hi, this is Mike Elliott, and you're watching a CEO Live Executive Interview. In this episode, we'll be talking to Mr. Robert Reynolds, the Chairman and VP of Operations at First Liberty Power, an innovative and diversified mine exploration and development company focused on bringing to market, quote-unquote, mined in America, strategic industrial minerals. First Liberty Power is a publicly traded company listed under ticker symbol FLPC. Good morning, Robert. Thanks for joining us again.
Good morning, Mike. It's a pleasure to be back.
First Liberty Power recently called for a special shareholders meeting to vote on a proposed increase of authorized shares. The announcement caused quite a stir with your shareholders, but what was interesting was how you and your First Liberty Power management team dealt with shareholder reaction. Could you explain that a little bit for us?
Yes, the original proposal was for 3 billion shares of authorized. And what we were thinking as a board, as a management team, is we have 4 pieces of property, and we were going to take this one proposal and then we can expand out in the future instead of continually doing this, because it does cost money every time you do this to mail out. It's between $10,000 and $15,000 that you have to come up with capital. But as we did this, and then we started to receive many emails, and then we monitor Facebook, we monitor the social networks. We started seeing our shareholders say, "Look, we can't live with this. It's too dilutive. It'll really hurt our shares." So we just kept listening to them, and I had phone conversations with many investors. So the board reconvened, and we decided that the best thing to do was they made a proposal of $1.8 billion, which is doubling our current authorization. And the board and management sat down and said, "Look, I know we're trying to do long-term projects, but it was better that we keep our shareholders, which is a big part of our family, happy." So we sat back and said, "Look, we'll change it." We refiled, we amended our SEC filing, and we went down to 1.8 billion shares with 10 million of what we call blank check preferred. They had no problem with the 10 million on preferred shares, but the other one, they had a little issue. So, it pays to listen to your people that are invested in you. It's so important to have that communication.
That's great. Now, let's talk about your First Liberty management team. Who are they, and how did you put this team together?
Wow, it's quite a team when you start looking at it. Our resumes online and stuff like this. We start out with our CEO, Don Nicholson. Don he's 20-year experienced man. He's been around the world. He's done international management. He's run mining industries before, overseas a little bit. So, Don brings the business development, and he's the founder, really, of First Liberty Power. He came in January of 2011, and he took over the company. So he started putting this project together. And obviously, we explained before, we've changed. So we went into the mining, exploration, and development part of it. So Don was the key to the whole thing. He's a finance guy, too, behind the scenes. He really understands the finance. In April, I came on board, and I brought in more of the face of First Liberty Power. I've been around publicly speaking and out in the public, and we needed a good face, and we needed investor relations, and that's what I really brought to the board. But I also had the operational background from Ford. On top of that, in December of this past year, we brought in a CFO who is Mario Beckles, who is unbelievable. He knows the numbers. He's a young guy, but he's been around. He's got the experience to gather and put the numbers together, so when we go to investors, they understand what our profits are like. They understand what our expenses are going to be. And he's got quite an experience. And if you go online, you can see all his experience at our website, www.firstlibertypower.com. Then on top of that, we recently added a good gentleman from the UK, William Bowden. William has 40 years experience in the business. He's been in upper management. He's taken companies, and he's taken them when they were dormant and brought them back to life. A case and example is a company in Canada. He recently did that. So he brings an insight to the board meetings and to the management of what his experience can do and where we need to take it. And he was part of the big process of why we took a look at this 1.8 million shares, because he gave us some good feedback on that. And then we also have our geologist on board, Kim Craig. Kim is an outstanding geologist, a hands-on guy. He's out at the Fencemaker mine. When we request him to get out there, he gets out there and works with Jim Bowden. Jim is the director of our partner, Stockpile Reserves. And Jim, I'll tell you what, nobody is more hands-on than Jim. He's there. He lives that job day in and day out, and he brought about a unbelievable thing for Fencemaker, which I'll get into later. So that's kind of a real unique management team. We've come together, And you know what? We are all gelling, and that's what's important with management and the board.
Now, next, could you walk us through how this management team you've assembled, how they really impact the day-to-day workings at First Liberty Power?
You know, that's a very interesting question you bring up, because I'll tell you what, just doing it right now makes me think of what we do day to day. But I'll tell you, our CEO right now is out on a road trip doing some financing, so he's out there trying to raise money. Our CFO and myself are constantly in contact with investors, trying to not only raise money, but to understand what they need and what they're looking for to invest in our company. On top of that, we have a marketing director that works daily on our social media, Christine App. She brings in the social media, the Twitter, and we put that all together for our communications. But I think the best thing that we do on a day-to-day basis is we all chat. We texting, we use the technology that's available to us all. We're all technical savvy people, and that helps us on a day-to-day operations, because if we have an issue, we can communicate and we get it done as quickly as possible.
And explain the cohesive workings of this team, and how you operate in a virtual corporate boardroom.
You know, I came from Ford, and that's one of the things I bring is this lean manufacturing background in there. You know, and research suggests that when you can influence your company or human beings or anybody with communications, it's really the frequency of the communications that keep the cohesiveness and gets everybody with buying into the product or into the operation. So what we do is we do two things. We are regularly in communication as a board and as a management team. We Skype a lot, believe it or not. That's one of the best things we ever do. We do right now is Skype. We have management meetings at night. And the other part of it is that we are frequently, more than I think most penny stocks out there, with our Pathways of Progress program. And that's an important part of what we do, because we're notifying people of changes. We do updates on our Facebook on a regular basis. I bet you 5 to 5 days we're doing updates all 5 days. The weekends we're down a little bit, but obviously that's a reason for that. But, you know, we're trying to communicate constantly with our investors. And I think that's an important thing in the virtual corporate boardroom, is you have to communicate right now, and you have to communicate openly and honestly. And I think that we accomplished that.
It sounds like you do. And I've seen some of the Pathways of Progress reports, and that kind of transparency really builds trust with your shareholders. There's no doubt about it.
You know, and Michael, you know, it's so important when you get this interaction like you and I are having. That's another tool, and it's great what you guys do in the media right now. People don't realize how important it is for the daily investor to look at a site like yourselves and go and look at a company and do your research. You know, we're not asking anybody to, hey, go invest in First Liberty. Do your research. If you believe in us, you know, that's when we want you to come on board. So, again, you guys do an outstanding part of this process, because you're out there communicating, you know, daily with your investors.
Thanks, Robert. We certainly appreciate that. Now, what I want to ask you next is what's the latest news from, or what can you discuss that's the most recent updates from your Fencemaker operation?
Wow. You know, it's been a pretty exciting 2 weeks, and, you know, we changed the shareholder authorization. On top of that, we got our plan of operation completed with the BML, Bureau of Land Management, and that is significant. It's the first time since the late 80s Fencemaker has a plan of operation. In fact, we have our small mine development team out there working with Jim Vogan on getting the mine ready. The outside has now been secured. We now have a pad, so we can take the raw blast outside, get them ready to ship out to the mill. We have had an agreement with the mill, a $1.5 million agreement with the mill. We need $150,000 up front, and then $150,000 when the mill's ready to be shipped out to us. And for $300,000, we end up with a $1.5 million mill. That's pretty exciting. This week, Jim confirmed to me that we removed the final 10,000 gallons of water in the mine, and we did it the right way. We took it to a waste recycling operation. So it has been recycled, and it's back in clean, usable water. And finally, you know, I can't stress this enough. It takes time to get an old prospecting mine up and running, but I think we've pretty much stayed on as best schedule we can. We might be a week off here, we might be 2 days off on a schedule here, but I think Jim has driven that point, that we continue to stay on progress with the Fencemaker. We hope to have a blast within a week, 2. Obviously, we still have to meet some government regulations. Every time you do something, you have the government looking at things. So we're inside the mine right now, securing the shaft to do the first blast, to get the ore out, to get it ready to go out to a vendor who is interested in buying it. We've been working on that process as well, and that's what Mario's been working on. So that's kind of a quick update on Fencemaker, but I really believe that's moving forward. And, you know, the other projects, we've been looking for some financing to get the lithium. If we can get the next drill done on that, the drill report on the lithium, I think that'll be a surprise for the people in our company too.
That's a lot of great information, Robert. Thanks, and that's all the questions I had for today. Any closing points you wanted to add before we end?
I just want to say this: we really learned a lot with our shareholders. We monitor them, and we watch what they're saying and give us feedback. And it's so important, that communications, not only with our shareholders, but our investors. And we talk to a lot of investors every day. But I think the final thing is we do open-face communications with this type of new internet services. I think this is the way the new investor has to take a look at things. And again, Michael, I can't say how much I appreciate you giving me another opportunity to come on your program. It really helps our company. So thank you very much.
And thank you for joining us again, and we look forward to hearing from you again soon, Robert.
Okay, you have a great day.
You too. We've been talking to Mr. Robert Reynolds, the Chairman and VP of Operations at First Liberty Power, an innovative and diversified mine exploration and development company focused on bringing to market mined in America strategic industrial minerals. First Liberty Power is a publicly traded company listed under ticker symbol FLPC, and you can find out more about them by visiting their website, www.firstlibertypower.com. Thank you.